Before I open up this debate, we're joined now by former Minister of State for External Affairs, somebody who knows Pakistan policy. Shashi Tharoor is now joining us live here on India at 9. He's our newsmaker. I want to first put out for our viewers what the Prime Minister tweeted today. He said, "It's my firm conviction that all outstanding issues can be resolved through bilateral dialogue in an atmosphere free from terror and violence." It's the first time that the Prime Minister is using the word bilateral. Is this a slow but sure realization that, yes, dialogue is the only way forward, and that red lines, well, you can draw them, provided you have the muscle to get the other side to keep them?
Well, you can have red lines in diplomacy. Certainly there are some kinds of behavior on the part of Pakistan that would be a red line for us. But this particular statement of the Prime Minister's issued today on Pakistan's National Day is very clearly a gesture of conciliation, of stretching out his hand, and I think the Pakistanis would be wise to grasp it.
Now, the reason I asked you about those red lines is that when the Foreign Secretary level talks were cancelled 7 months ago, there were at least 3 conditions that were put on the table for renewed engagement with Pakistan. No talking to the separatists, visible progress in the 2611 trial, and no cross-border terror. We've just had twin attacks in Jammu over the weekend. I mean, are those red lines now out the window?
Well, this is what the Prime Minister has to explain to the nation, because we've seen him blowing hot and cold on Pakistan from the beginning of his coming to power. You remember that during the election campaign, there was a lot of belligerent talk saying that no one would dare to behead an Indian soldier again as long as this government was in power. Then immediately upon their victory, they invited the Prime Minister of Pakistan to the inauguration of our Prime Minister, which was an unprecedented gesture. Then within a short while, they go the other extreme and firing escalates across the border. Then we have the business of the cancellation of the talks because the High Commissioner met with members of the Hurriyat. So frankly, the Prime Minister has left the country somewhat dazed by the pendulum-like manner in which he's conducted Pakistan policy.
And correct me if I'm wrong on this, Mr. Tharoor, but my understanding is it boils down to the government doesn't know what to do with the Hurriyat. Today, the MEA spokesperson said this, and I quote, "There should be no scope for misunderstanding or misrepresenting India's position on the role of the so-called Hurriyat." I don't know what so-called Hurriyat is. "Let me reiterate that there are only 2 parties and there is no place for a third party in the resolution of India-Pakistan issues." 2 questions. One, is there going to be a realistic, durable solution to the Kashmir issue without the Hurriyat? And by saying what the MEA spokesperson has said today, are they implicitly saying that the Kashmiri people are also a third party and therefore can't decide what their future is going to be?
Well, frankly, we have always believed there is an important place for elected Kashmiri representatives' voices to be heard, and that's why we hold free and fair elections in Kashmir, and the Kashmiri people have a role in determining their own political destiny within, of course, the framework of the Indian Constitution. Now, the Hurriyat chooses not to participate in elections. They are, however, Indian citizens and they are free to meet whom they want to meet. But we don't recognize them as a party, whereas indeed if they participate in the elections and acquire a mandate, they can speak with the authority of that mandate. Right now, the only mandate they have has been given to them by themselves. So naturally, we have some hesitations about taking them seriously as an entity. And certainly, as far as the dialogue with Pakistan is concerned, there are only 2 parties in the dialogue. We don't recognize that there is any legitimate basis for a third party to play any role in this. Whether they call themselves representatives of Kashmiris, whether they call themselves some external force, the only 2 parties involved in a dialogue between India and Pakistan are India and Pakistan, and that position is held by all political parties in India. We're not going to back away.
I know you got to go, but I think it's pertinent to point out to our viewers that the round table with the Hurriyat was actually started by Prime Minister Vajpayee. So it was a policy that was taken forward by Prime Minister Manmohan Singh. Now, of course, the new government under Prime Minister Modi has a different policy parameter, if we can call that, when it comes to dealing with the Hurriyat. Shashi Tharoor, many thanks for joining us.